Hi everyone, I'm Mr. Glazer. Today we're going to do a little map analysis about where women got what we call suffrage rights right away. So we see the title of this map. It says women's suffrage. So for anyone who doesn't know, the word suffrage doesn't mean suffering. It just means the right to vote. So it says women's suffrage on this map, so women's right to vote, where they got the right to vote and how they got the right to vote and what types of voting they had and such. So let's now look at our key down here. So our key just shows the different types of suffrage, the different types of voting. So over here in the West, we see that they have full suffrage rights. That means they could completely vote in any way they want to. They can vote in any type of election. So in other words, they have as much voting power as men. If it says presidential suffrage, that means they could only vote in presidential elections. They can only vote for the president. So over here in an area that today we call the Rust Belt, but back then, not really, we didn't call it that. States like Wisconsin, Minnesota, Ohio, Indiana. These states said women can only vote in presidential elections. Over here, the little brown ones, or kind of purplish brown ones, say presidential and municipal suffrage. Municipal just means city, so that means they can vote for the president, but they could also vote for things like the mayor, city councilors, that type of thing. And we see states like Nebraska, Tennessee, Vermont, Illinois, and in our pinkish or magenta, maybe that's a good color, places like New Mexico, Louisiana, Mississippi, Kentucky, a bunch of other northeastern states, they said women can only vote in local school elections, vote for the school board, that type of thing, which isn't that much voting power. So several states have that. And in green, we had municipal suffrage again, so that means they could only really vote for people like the mayor, city councilors. And in the South, in some of the Northeast, but typically what we would think today as our Bible Belt, or the traditional South, most of it at least, they had no rights, no right to vote. Women couldn't vote in anything. So, where did women get the right to vote first? Where they got the complete right to vote? Well, it's in the West. Remember, the West was kind of the Wild West at this time. People had moved there from the Northeast looking for better opportunities. They took advantage of the Homestead Act to get that free land and set up farms and ranches, and they went to California and Alaska and other places to do gold mining. So in the West, women would start to be treated more as equals because the West was kind of a rough life. They weren't these big cities where women were just relegated to stay at home or to do some really small job in a factory. They had a tough life along with the rest of the family. So they were awarded political power pretty quickly and were given full suffrage rights pretty quickly. And you saw that it started in Wyoming right here in 1869, and within a few decades it spread throughout most of the West. So by the time we get to 1919, there's a constitutional amendment that is being pushed for all women of the United States to have full suffrage rights, and we'll see if we got there. So let's look at a few things. So just very brief, like Spark Notes version of women's suffrage. So the women's suffrage movement obviously is a movement for women to get suffrage, get the right to vote. This woman, Susan B. Anthony, as you see here, who says, "No man is good enough to govern any woman without her consent," is going to be a leading activist and a leader of this movement to help women get their suffrage rights, help them get the right to vote. And with her, there will be countless women who are important. But for the sake of on-level U.S. history, we're thinking about just Susan B. Anthony at this point. And eventually, after years of fighting and going on hunger strikes and rallying and getting support, especially during World War I, we'll get there later, women are going to be successful in convincing Congress to give all of them the complete right to vote, give them full suffrage rights. So the 19th Amendment is going to be ratified, which means accepted, and all women are going to get the right to vote. So this was before the 19th Amendment was ratified. Only some people had full suffrage, and other people had different varying degrees of suffrage, if any. And then after the 19th was ratified, everyone has full suffrage rights. So pretty easy, pretty simple. Make sure you remember the 19th. Remember 16 is income tax. 17 gives gives people the right to directly elect their senators. They vote for them. 18 gets rid of 18 gets rid of alcohol in society. The temperance movement was successful, and prohibition prohibited alcohol from being bought, sold, traded, consumed, manufactured. And 19 is going to give women suffrage, give them full suffrage, give them the complete right to vote. All right, that's been Mr. Glazer, and this is U.S. History. Thank you.